filmmaker Fritz Lang once said that he only learned how to make films by watching the bad ones. He said that to be an audience member in a good film was essentially to be transported. When you watch a bad film, you learn something and therefore have gained something. Crime 101 is far from a bad film. Let me get that out of there right away. In fact, my stance has always been that there's no such thing as a bad film, probably because I agree with Fritz Lang there. But there are certainly films that I deem to be learning films or studying films. These are the ones where I spend a majority of the runtime asking, why isn't this working right now? That is what Crime 101 was for me. The experience wasn't negative. Far from it. It may have even been enriching. Being able to pinpoint the why isn't this working is not always that easy. Here we get a film that seems to be a collage of several other films of its ilk. Think Heat, Drive, 999, The Town, but every step of the way something is just a bit off. Since I'm in the mood to talk lessons, which is just a kinder way of saying negatives, I'll start with the romantic subplot in the overall characterization of Chris Hemsworth's character. I love Monica Barbaro as much as the next guy, but you take out their whole dalliance and you can cut 20 minutes from this entire movie and get it down to a lean 2 hours. Chris is doing this no eye contact, nice guy, non-violent Robin Hood criminal thing. He lives by some code of conduct. He has some supposedly OCD level care given to the art of the untraceable heist. And truthfully, I didn't buy it because it seems more like luck is the thing keeping him from being caught than any actual immense planning. Now, don't get me wrong, Hemsworth plays the part pretty well, but the part is so emotionally closed off that you spend the movie waiting to peek behind the curtain, but that moment never really comes. And so what you get is a hot dude playing a socially awkward criminal with a heart of gold, and that's essentially his whole deal. That being said, the rest of the characters act as archetypes as well. The movie is chock full of cliches left and right, and it makes you think that maybe the title, acting as a first-year seminar class on how to construct a crime film, is more tongue-in-cheek than you initially give it credit for. You've got Halle Berry playing an employee for an insurance company that insures the richest of the rich. She's a few months from being named a partner, but the only problem is that she's been a few months away for the last few years. The boys' club at the top doesn't seem to want to give her the status, just constantly kicking the dangling carrot down the road every few months. Mark Ruffalo, once again, is a sad sack divorced detective who has a hunch about a string of robberies up the 101 freeway that all of his colleagues keep giving him shit for. He's kind of doing the same thing that he did on Task on HBO, but without all of the religion talk. I'd recommend people watch Task. Nick Nolte is a crime boss of some vague sort who brought Chris Hemsworth into the world of crime and treated him like a son, but now it's time to betray him by hiring Barry Keoghan, a tattooed live wire criminal who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty and listen to Run the Jewels. And the aforementioned Monica Barbaro is a woman looking to bone Chris Hemsworth after accidentally crashing into the back of his car. And she must be colorblind given all of the red flags that she just waltzes on past. I mean, weeks into their relationship, she still has no idea what he does for work. If you couldn't tell, this is a lot to pack into a film, and I would say that it balances it well enough. And the thing that sets it apart would be that it's patient in an era where it seems like the MO of studio films is to tick-tockify themselves and tell the story quickly in little 30-second bursts. This film takes the opposite approach, letting scenes breathe, and all of that breathing does leave some to be desired, though it's a bit of a feature and a bug. One thing that stood out to me was that the film heavily leaned into the pulsating, thumping score to underscore the tension. Let me back up. Most of the time, the score pretended there was tension to be had, often not really matching the stakes of the moment. I'm currently taking a college course on Alfred Hitchcock right now, and the obvious thing about him is the intentional use of the visual medium to create suspense, tension, etc. Crime 101 seems to lean on its score to make up for the lack of suspenseful visuals. Obviously, these things are all in concert with one another, but I just found the film to be lacking in a visual flair to draw me in. If you were to watch this movie on mute, sadly, much of the tension would be missing. And I could say the same for the action, which there is actually very little of. And that's not really a complaint, by the way. Keeping the action set pieces in this film sparse is a good move, in my opinion, but when they do appear, they're played with a blandness that I just kind of couldn't shake. There are occasional choices that elevate them, like mounting the camera to Barry Keoghan's bike as he's weaving through traffic, but otherwise the action comes and goes without much chutzpah to get it across the finish line for me. And then there's the finale of the film that supposedly wants you to forgive the transgressions of those who have committed the crimes, Halle Berry, Chris Hemsworth, and Mark Ruffalo. The whole moralizing here is that the money being stolen is better off in the hands of the righteous, the noble, and the hardworking instead of the arrogant elite. And this is fine in theory, if a little bit overdone within the genre, but without the follow-up, we're left to interpret whether or not that's actually the case. Unfortunately, when you see how these folks are living already, I'm not really sure that I bought into the whole, sure, give these folks more money thing. I mean, Halle Berry drives a nice car. She has a house on the beach in LA. Sure, she's being dicked around by her employer, and it's a fine justification for her essentially being handed $3 million diamonds. But it did feel like you took three characters who were already wealthier than a good portion of the country and made them your symbols for the lower class. I don't know. It just didn't really sit right with me. And that leads me to the dialogue, which I found to be just fairly corny, boilerplate, again, 101, crime heist movie jargon. Now, I've been bashing this movie pretty hard. What are some things that I did like? For starters, it's different than 90% of what we get in this genre. I like swings, and I like that Bart Layton was given a chance to be patient and less flashy with this film. I like Barry Keoghan. It's rare that I don't like him. The scene of him and Chris Hemsworth in the convenience store was among my favorite because of how real he played it. It felt like he was just elevating the material every time he was on screen. Halle Berry was also a standout. Her confronting her boss was very satisfying. So to bring it all back around, this is far from bad. It was a learning experience. And not to beat a dead horse, but the 101 in the title appears to be deliberate, at least for me. This film has a stacked cast of actors all putting in solid work. It's sleek to look at. It has twists and turns. It has some baller transitions. It feels somewhat refreshing within the crime genre. But will I remember it tomorrow morning? Probably not. That's okay though, because at least I learned something. But what did you guys think of Crime 101? Let me know down in the comments. And then when you're done with that, don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified when new videos come out on this very channel. And when you're done with that, go follow me over on Letterboxd so you can see what I'm watching when I'm watching it. And then when you're done with that, go check out my podcast where I talk about movies with people who love movies. And if you love movies and you want to come talk to me about them, go ahead and send an email down to the email down below. Should be right about there, and we'll get the ball rolling. But anyway, if you haven't already, go check out Crime 101. I urge you to give it a chance. And with that, I'll see you all next time.